Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from not the Commander's Quarters studio. Yeah, I am out of the office, as one might say, for a little bit. I'll be back in the studio eventually, but yeah, for right now, this is the lovely background that you get to enjoy. It's just one of my friends is being very kind and allowing me to record in this room. So yeah, a big shout out. Thank you, Garrett. Anyways, so on this episode, well, yesterday, I should back up real quick. Yesterday, Mark Rosewater on Blogatog, put up the teasers. If you haven't seen my episode talking about Mark's teasers and giving you my, thoughts on them and what they might be, make sure you check that episode out. Seems like many of you enjoyed it. But also on this episode, I want to kind of dive a bit further into one of those teasers because in one of those teasers, Mark said that the 10th sword is going to be revealed. Now, there is the, original sword cycle from, I think, back in the original Mirrodin block, and then we've been getting the other swords kind of here and there. I think, Modern Horizons 2, and then, Phyrexian V1 was the other one. We'll go through some of those here in a little bit. But now we are going to be getting, again, the 10th one, and thank you to everyone in the comments yesterday, because I, for some reason, could not remember which sword we were missing. We were missing the Dimir sword. It just kind of a little brain fart just kind of slipped, and I just could not think about it. So there you go. It is going to be the Dimir sword. And so got me thinking further, after I learned that it was the Dimir one, what in the world is this sword going to be doing? Because, well, I mean, all these are pretty, unique. They do obviously follow a pattern, but they all have different effects. And not to belabor the point too much, but it's going to be pretty interesting to see, what in the world this sword does. And now let's just jump into kind of my thoughts on, what this sword might be and, what potential, well, I guess I'm going to say options, because I actually made a couple of different designs because, well, I was very excited. And there's a couple of different possibilities that I can see them coming up with. And I could be way off. I could be way wrong. But yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on these. Let's jump into the first one. And actually, I'm going to name them both the exact same thing. So here we go. Sword of Cunning and Deceit. This is just my very first kind of take on it. And yeah, a big thank you to mtg.design for existing. You're a fantastic website. That's where I make my custom cards like this one. So it's an equipment for 3. I think that's pretty obvious. That's going to be, again, following the exact same pattern as every single one of the other swords. I highly doubt they're going to change the formula now. Same equip cost equip 2. So all that is the exact same. The first line of text is basically the exact same as well. +2/+2, protection from blue and black for the equipped creature. So yeah, that is going to be, basically, I don't think that's going to be argued as that is going to be that, because yeah, every other sword has followed that exact same template essentially. Yeah, the +2/+2 plus protection from the colors that it is. And again, this is the Dimir one, so yeah, blue and black. Now the part that is going to be up for debate, and that I again played around with quite a bit, and again, that's why I've got 2 different designs on this. The first one that I came up with was this. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, surveilled 2, and up to 1 target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. That's my first take on what I think that this sword might do. I mean, typically these are decently powerful effects. Some more powerful than others, and we'll talk about some of those here in a bit. But yeah, Surveil 2, when it comes to Dimir decks, they can work with the graveyard a decent amount, whether that's a Reanimator deck or a deck maybe that has some flashback cards or, cares about the number of instant sorceries in graveyards. So yeah, getting things into your graveyard can actually be a good thing. Surveilling 2, while that isn't card advantage, it is card selection, kind of like a better scry in many ways, essentially. And again, as a reminder, Surveil is basically look at the top card of your library. You can choose to keep it on top or put in your graveyard. And this one essentially would be look at the top 2 cards, obviously, with Surveil 2. So yeah, there you go. So a good amount of card selection there. And also some potential removal. Up to 1 target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. So obviously this is going to happen, again, at the end of combat, right? Combat damage to a player, that's when you're getting this trigger. So maybe an opponent's creature, maybe one of their bigger creatures got damaged in combat, took some hits from one of your creatures essentially when it was blocking. And so maybe you can take out a bigger creature with something like this. So this can kind of actually be a deterrent for your opponents for blocking in certain ways and make things even more complicated for them. Or obviously, if your opponent has some small creatures in play, yeah, you can utilize this to kind of just take them out. So this is my first take on it. Again, some not card advantage, but yes, card selection, which again can play into the advantages of these colors. And then also, again, some removal with that as well. So that's just my first take on this one. Now, though, let's jump into my second take on the card, and it is called the exact same thing. So some things in this did not change at all. Again, artifact equipment costs 3. Equip 2, exact same text to start, +2/+2, pro white, or sorry, pro white, pro blue, pro black. There we go. We got there. Yeah, that did not change. No pro white. Okay, here we go. Whenever equipped creature deals combat to a player, tap or untap target permanent, and target opponent exiles a card from their hand. You may cast this turn, and you may spend mana as though mana of any to cast that spell, any type to cast that spell. So yeah, basically a way that, again, you're getting some kind of advantage off of this, right, essentially. So this would be potentially card advantage for that second part, right? If you can get a card out of opponent's hand, that is, again, a card disadvantage for them to start off with. And secondly, that is going to be card advantage for you if you can actually utilize that card. And again, I did go back and forth. I didn't say play because, yeah, you can't, I wouldn't allow you to play lands with this, I guess. It's more, for utilizing a spell potentially. So that's a way that an opponent can be like, okay, I'm going to exile a land, and then you can't utilize it potentially. But yeah, I think the way that I went with it is, I think, more likely, potentially, that, again, you can cast the spell. You do have, mana fixing for it, essentially, and Wizards has been doing that more and more often lately. Unlike originally, like, send triplets to give you kind of mana fixing for your opponent's spells, this one would kind of more so like, Gantian those. So yeah, getting access to a card opponent's hand, that again is some card advantage, card disadvantage for them, card advantage for you. And the ability to, tap or untap a permanent, that again is kind of like, the blue portion of this card, I guess. And that one, it kind of plays with this in that you could get access to some more mana. So like, let's say, you've got, some mana rocks in play. You can untap one of your mana rocks, essentially, to help you cast the actual spell that you're going to be casting from an opponent's hand, or exile, whatever. And so being able to maybe utilize, again, maybe it's a Soul Ring, you can tap for 2, so you're getting even more mana out of that. Or maybe a Bounce Land, again, which also taps for 2. Or, again, a Gilded Lotus or something like that can tap for even more. So you can utilize those mana sources to actually, cast the spell. Or maybe if you already have the resources for that spell you're going to be getting, maybe instead, tap something down. So, like, maybe tap down an opponent's, one of their mana rocks as well. So they have, less access to resources until, their next turn or something like that. So this could definitely play in some different ways. Again, just kind of a different take. Again, having, the blue for the tap untap, the black for the, getting a card out of an opponent's hand and utilizing it. So again, this one would provide card advantage. It does provide some flexibility with that tap untap. So there are some interesting factors to it as well. If I had to guess kind of which one of the two is more likely, I'd say the first one. Again, yeah, Surveil 2 and then also -3/-3. I was already forgetting what the first one did. But yeah, I think that either is a possibility, and maybe we see a combination, or maybe we see something completely different. I'm completely wrong. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on these. Before, I head out though, or I guess I'm really heading out of this room. I'm going to keep working in this room. Again, just a little thrown off with being in a different space, but let's talk about the actual kind of older swords that do share these colors and kind of what we've already seen with these colors and how Wizards, it seems so far, has not repeated kind of any of these effects on the swords. So what kind of already is taken? So first up, Sword of Fire and Ice, definitely a very popular sword. +2/+2, red and blue. So the side that matters for this one, again, is that blue part that we're going to focus on. Deals 2 damage to creature or player. That is the red side, obviously. Draw a card. So draw a card, straight up card advantage, great. But with this one, again, drawing a card and just getting card advantage in that way, I doubt we are going to see that on this brand new sword because, again, it's already been done. And Wizards really hasn't been repeating these effects on the swords up until now. So I highly doubt they're going to do that. Now, again, there are different ways to generate card advantage. So again, like the way I talked about with, getting access to an opponent's card. So that would be a way, and that's kind of where I went with that. Although I guess I went with the black side of that. Anyways, next up, we've got Sword of Truth and Justice. +2/+2, white and blue. So this one, again, aligns with the blue side. Get a counter on a creature you control, that's the white side, and then proliferate, that is the blue side. So proliferating is something that's already taken now, essentially. That is one that definitely could have played into this because, again, proliferating definitely is a big thing in Phyrexia. So yeah, I mean, the next set is, Phyrexian as well, with March Machine. And if proliferating wasn't on this one, I probably would have guessed that one because that is a mechanic that's very heavy in blue. And yeah, again, on a sword, but proliferating is probably not something we're going to be seeing on this one because, again, it's already taken. And then finally, in blue, we got Sword of Body and Mind. This is one of the lesser played swords, +2/+2, green and blue. You make a 2/2 wolf, that is the green side, obviously. The blue side is target player mills 10 cards. yeah, not really the strongest thing. I mean, obviously for mill decks, great, but yeah, most decks aren't mill decks. So milling is also something that we're probably not going to see on the sword, the new one. And again, they're probably going to want to make this sword pretty high in demand, a pretty powerful sword. And nothing against milling again, but milling is pretty specific on what it does. And again, it's already been taken, so I'm assuming that we are not going to see any kind of milling with this brand new sword. Unless it's more so like mill yourself, get a creature out of your graveyard or something like that. That might be it. But again, this is the blue portion I'm talking about. Let's move on though and talk about the black portion of the card. And what effects have already been taken, essentially. So Sword of Feast and Famine, +2/+2, pro-black, pro-green. So this one is, I believe, the most popular one in Commander for a good reason. Whenever a equipped creature deals combination to a player, that player discards a card. You untap all lands you control. So the green side is untap all lands you control, which is why this one is played so heavily, because that's an incredibly powerful effect. That player discarding a card. Okay, I mean, again, card disadvantage, yes. That's not why people play this, though. That definitely kind of, is a weaker effect of the two, obviously. And so, again, we probably won't see, a player discarding a card when they're hit with this brand new sword, which, again, I think I'm calling Cunning and Deceit or whatever it is. I think that's a pretty good name. Regardless, we can, again, maybe potentially see some card disadvantage in other ways, like exiling a card from their hand and getting access to it and playing it. So yeah, basically you're still disadvantaging that player. You're still taking, a card out of their hand, just in a different way. Next up, Sword of Sinew and Steel, one of the newer swords. I guess this was Modern Horizons 1 quite some time ago, but newer than the old ones. Here we go. +2/+2, pro-black, pro-red. Whenever quick creature deals combination to a player, destroy up to one target planeswalker, up to one target artifact. So obviously the artifact side is going to be the red side, and then the black side is destroying a planeswalker. So again, dealing with a planeswalker, something we've seen on this. I don't think we've got any of these swords that actually deal with enchantments. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, we've seen one that destroys an artifact, destroys a planeswalker. So again, kind of like thinking that through, not necessarily just destroying a creature straight up. It seems pretty powerful. I think kind of, again, giving -3/-3 is probably more reasonable. And so that's kind of, maybe it's -4/-4, maybe, maybe less than that. I would assume -3/-3. Again, Sword of Fire and Ice does 2 damage, but that's also flexible to be a creature or a player. So yeah, being able to move that target essentially and not just have to be it on a creature, doing it, on a creature for -3/-3. I think that's the right amount. I think maybe 4, but yeah, we'll see. Again, maybe that's not even the effect that we'll see on it, but I think it is definitely a possibility. Finally, Sword of Light and Shadow, the white-black one. I don't believe this one sees very much play. +2/+2, pro-white, pro-black. Deals combination player, you gain 3 life. That is the white side, and you may return to one target creature card from your grave to your hand. That is the black side, obviously. So I guess, again, I kind of forgot that this one did exactly that. So, we could, again, see kind of a combination where it's like mill yourself and then return a creature from among them, potentially. That is different enough from this, most likely. That is something that I think we could see again. I didn't design any of the cards, but I did bring it up. But yeah, I think that obviously this one just sees less play because, well, it's not all that great. Gaining 3 life, and then returning a creature back to your hand. If you don't have any creatures in your graveyard, you're not really getting anything like that either. So yeah, I think kind of making the swords kind of more just generically, more generically applicable in a lot of situations is what Wizards seems to be doing. But yeah, I bet this one's pretty pushed, being the last sword. So we shall see what in the world it does. Regardless, I'd love to hear your thoughts on my sword, or I should say swords, potentially. Again, Sword of Cunning Deceit, and I guess I called them the exact same thing. But yeah, which one of these two do you think is more likely? Do you think, the Surveil to -3/-3, or the tap untap, exile card from one's hand? Is that one more likely? Which one is more likely out of the two? Are either of them not likely at all? Am I completely off base? Am I completely wrong on these? What do you think this, brand new sword is going to do? What is this brand new Dimir sword going to do? So yeah, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one.
This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.